These are better than expected numbers from Tesla in terms of topping its own guidance, as well as better than what analysts were expecting.
1.81 million cars now for the year globally. That's 38% higher than a year ago. So not a little bit below that 50% compound annual growth rate.
One thing that BYD does that's very different from Tesla is that alongside battery electric cars, full plug-in battery electric, they also do plug-in hybrids.
You look what's happening in China. There were fears there, and it was actually a source of strength. We think a record quarter in China.
The stock has been consolidating for the last 2 years and really looks ripe for a potential breakout here.
All that and more. So let's get to it. On the first trading day of 2024, Tesla stock ended pretty much sideways with incredible volatility in the middle. In the pre-market right now, Tesla's down almost 1%. Believe me when I tell you I don't understand a thing about the stock market. I placed a 247.50 call that has a break-even price of about 251.50, fully expecting the news of Tesla's record-breaking quarter to guide the stock higher amidst this wonderful, wonderful news.
These are better than expected numbers from Tesla in terms of topping its own guidance, as well as better than what analysts were expecting. Let's start first off with Q4 deliveries of 484,507 vehicles. The street was expecting closer to 473,000, so better than analyst expectations. And because of those deliveries topping 475,000, they topped their full year delivery guidance of 1.8 million vehicles. Officially, it's 1.808 in terms of 1,808,000 vehicles delivered in 2023, an increase of 38%. And again, the street guidance, or I should say Tesla's guidance was for delivering 1.8 million vehicles. By the way, fourth quarter production, just under 495,000 vehicles. We will get the fourth quarter and full year financial results after the bell on the 24th of this month. So what, 3 weeks away in terms of when we hear from Elon Musk in terms of the setup. And that's also, by the way, guys, when we are likely to get the company's guidance for deliveries for 2024. That's when we will probably get them, again, 3 weeks from now.
Beating the street guidance, barely beating their rough estimate of 1.8 million.
Go back to a year ago, January 2023, the first earnings call of the year, where Elon Musk said that 2 million units would be possible in the full year. So they beat the 1.8 million official guidance, but it fell short of that kind of higher bound target that Elon Musk had outlined.
Maybe because in the second quarter, they needed to retool the factories. 2 million was definitely in my bull case for 2023, but happens.
BYD, the Chinese EV maker, delivered 526,409,000 EVs in the quarter gone, meaning it now holds the crown as the standalone biggest maker and seller of electric vehicles.
There it is. Even though Tesla has a record-breaking quarter, apparently BYD is stealing some of their shine.
Production-wise, 494,000, almost 495,000 vehicles compared to 482, so a big beat there. They made a lot of Model 3s and Model Ys during the quarter. Both they don't break out regionally, so you don't know where they're made, but definitely made more in China and the U.S. and Fremont as well. For comment and context here, for the year, 1.81 million cars now for the year globally. That's 38% higher than a year ago. So not a little bit below that 50% compound annual growth rate, which we knew that they were not going to hit because of factory shutdowns and tweakings and things like that. But production sloped 35% year over year to 1.85 million. That's some strong numbers there. No one is really making EVs like they are, except for BYD in China, which I know we're going to talk about. But.
Well, that's the exact question, right? To what extent does Tesla have to worry about some of those other names here?
Yeah. So in this quarter, in Q4, BYD made 526,000 pure EVs. In the quarter. That's obviously more than what Tesla made. For the year, Tesla is still higher, right, for the pure EV numbers, not just hybrid. So still a ways to go, but they're catching them for sure. And we talk about BYD. Look, they're not just China. There's 70 countries around the globe, expanding in Europe a lot. Mexico too. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Tesla to sort of, how are they going to meet their growth rates if China's already or BYD's already eating into their competition?
There almost seems to be more news about BYD's efforts over Tesla's efforts. BYD operates mainly in China. Europe, Mexico, tiddlywinks at the moment. But they've got a seat at the big boy table over there in China. Ford, GM, pay attention, because this is what it looks like when a country reaches 33% EV penetration. Now, BYD's profits pale in comparison to Tesla's, but they are getting better. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they're not scaling back their production.
They make lots of different EV models, but the principal difference between BYD and Tesla is that it's at a lower price point. And one thing that BYD does that's very different from Tesla is that alongside battery electric cars, full plug-in battery electric, they also do plug-in hybrids, where they sell many of them as well. So you're quite right to point out that in the fourth quarter, the final 3 months of 2023, BYD sold 526,409 fully battery electric cars, most of them in China, whereas Tesla handed over 484,507 globally. But if you aggregate it over the course of the year, BYD is only bigger than Tesla on an annual basis in 2023 if you include plug-in hybrids.
But
Tesla still sold more battery electric overall that year.
But is the trend clear?
Oh, the trend is clear, and so we knew that this was going to happen going into these fourth quarter deliveries. The question more on Tesla's side is, where are they still growing geographically? And I had Dan Levy of Barclays on the show earlier today saying that, yeah, look, it's possible you can have Tesla continuing to grow in China because it doesn't make the lower end EV. It's used price cuts as a lever, particularly in China, but it's still seen as more of a premium product there than BYD. Then the next question is, what about those early adopters? If you're an early adopter and you were like the first to get into an EV and you've been and gone, what's left over on the demand side?
I don't understand why they act like people don't buy cars every 5 years or so. All those early adopters of the iPhone, I'm sure they just stopped buying iPhones for some reason. But look, this BYD versus Tesla narrative, it's really ridiculous. In China alone, there's only about 34% EV penetration. That leaves 2/3 of the rest of the auto market to convert to the battery electric vehicle side. There is plenty of room for both BYD and Tesla to continue to grow. Now with BYD at that lower price point, they do have more of a total addressable market to work with. But something tells me Tesla plans to remedy that issue later on this year.
Give me your take on those numbers. Phil just mentioned 2.3 million. Are you going to be towards the high end in terms of what you expect them to deliver this year?
Yeah, I think whisper expectations could be higher.
In my bear case, I have Tesla delivering just over 2 million vehicles for the calendar year of 2024. Very much on the low side, but I use my bear case for investing purposes, options, and the like. But in my base case, I have Tesla somewhere around 2.45 million vehicles. Bull case, 2.65 million vehicles. I have the greatest of confidence that Tesla will land somewhere in that base case around 2.45 million vehicles sold. But predicting the future is wrought with peril.
Look, this was a strong result. You look what's happening in China. There were fears there, and it was actually a source of strength. We think a record quarter in China. So I do think this is an important, sign that demand's actually strengthening for Tesla. It continues to be maybe EV demand soften, but not Tesla demand, and that's the important thing going into 24.
Yeah, where is that line? Why is that the case then? And in particular in China, where BYD is such a strong competitor, are they going to be able to maintain their market share?
Yeah, BYD has done a phenomenal job, but I do think if you look in the driver's seat, it's Tesla and BYD. Gained some net share from NIO and others. And in China, especially if you look at the last few quarters, there were fears that this price war was going to continue. It actually hasn't. See, now, to Phil's point, you're seeing price stabilization. That's very important because now the Goldilocks scenario, margins upticking, demand upticking. That's where, in our opinion, you see $1 trillion market cap for Tesla over the next year, despite many of the haters continuing to hate.
And if they hate, then let them hate and watch the money pile up.
Those price cuts boosting its fourth quarter sales. They had 485,000 deliveries, bringing the total to just over 1.8 million last year. The stock fractionally lower. Would you be a buyer here?
I am. I would be. I continue to do so. And this is a little difficult to talk about right after I talked about valuation because this stock is also not cheap, selling 70 times forward earnings. However, they have no debt. And I think that what's going to happen is at some point we see the Chinese economy turning around, and I believe that's going to be a big boost for Tesla and their sales, and that would translate into a pretty significant boost in EPS. I also bring viewers' attention to technicals, which we don't talk about very much, but the stock has been consolidating for the last 2 years and really looks ripe for a potential breakout here.
What? It's quite the weird world that we live in. Tesla's up over 100% for the year, yet still in a consolidation period. I love this stock.
You could put your trading hat on and you could basically look at the recent lows of around 194 as a stop and a pretty significant risk reward for the upside. And we do think Elon pulls another rabbit out of the hat and this stock heads to new highs sometime this year.
Ding, 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 ding. Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Mother right. Despite this stock having a wonderful, wonderful 2023, it still has much more room to grow. It'll be tough for me to place any bearish options trades in the next few weeks leading up to Tesla's earnings call. So many potential catalysts forecasted for Tesla to benefit from. Whether it be the NextGen Vehicle, the maturation of the energy division, the incredible progress of artificial intelligence and their FSD software, this individual couldn't have said it any better. Tesla has no debt and making money hand over fist. This company's doing things the right way. In conclusion, Tesla has a record-breaking Q4, greatly surpassing street expectations and a little bit above their own guidance for the year. Yet the stock remains suppressed. Hard to figure that this was baked in considering the street expectations. Could it possibly be that BYD is keeping Tesla stock suppressed? BYD did sell more battery electric vehicles than Tesla in the fourth quarter. Maybe it proves that any auto manufacturer can do what Tesla does, and Tesla has no real advantage in selling battery electric vehicles. If you believe that, you must be sucking the glass. No shade on BYD, they've done some remarkable things with what they've got to work with. The rest of the legacy auto manufacturers around the world should look to BYD and start taking some notes. But with that being said, Tesla's average selling price for each vehicle is significantly higher than that of BYD. And their true advantage would be the way that they manufacture their vehicles. With each passing day, the NextGen Vehicle is closer to being unveiled. BYD and everyone else has some time to sell these lower price point vehicles because when Tesla fully ramps that NextGen Vehicle, it's game over, folks. That's all I've got for you today. Be easy. Peace.